Hello, I am so glad that today we will be discussing something that's close to my heart, but something that's also essential for our society and for the future of humanity, and that is parenting. And my name is Maria Akani. I am a mental health consultant. I'm also the managing consultant of Renaissance. I am so glad that today I have my colleague who will introduce herself, who we will be chatting with.
My name's Hannah Fez-Billam. I'm one of the co-founders and directors of Tehillah Zambia, and I'm also a parent of 3 beautiful girls. And just quickly, Tehillah, for those that don't know, it's a child safeguarding, child protection organisation. We do a lot of work across the city, across the country, helping create safer environments for children, helping organisations create child safeguarding policies, procedures, and also providing some care for children that have gone through some trauma. So yes, it's great to be here to discuss this incredible topic. Hey, difficult topic.
Difficult.
Yeah.
I remember thinking before I had children, I had done all these parenting courses, and I did a lot of preparation for parenting. Really, now that I think about it, I read all these books, I did so many courses, and then I was one of those people that basically judged parents when they had a child that behaved in a certain way that they couldn't put in line, because I thought all the resources are there. And then I had my son. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe how much I had to put everything I had thought about to test.
I've got 3 girls. So I've not parented a boy. I hear it's a little bit different.
It is.
It's like, I agree with you. Before you become a parent, you have so many preconceived views about how your children are going to behave, how they're going to be, or if when I'm a parent, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that. You definitely have a list of the things you're not going to do when you, like you say, you judge maybe other people. But it's definitely a journey, isn't it? Mine are 13, 11 and 6. We've recently entered the teenage phase, which again is a different, I find every season brings its unique benefits and unique challenges. I don't know how you find that early stage, those early years, I don't know how you see the challenges or the...
I think that one of the most important things in the first 2 years is to have structure. Because it's like the child just came into this world and they have no idea what's day and night, what's this and what's that, and you have to help them to have some kind of structure. But most of all, you have to get structure, because before it was just you, and a world of dealing with adults is very different from a world of dealing with children.
So true.
And now you have to add some kind of form and structure. And I think one of the things that has been most helpful for me is to sit with my husband and think through, what kind of program do we want to have? What kind of structure do we want to have? And based on what kind of values do we have? And that sort of determined a lot of other things, like the kind of help we got at home, the personality of the helper that we wanted, and all these kinds of things.
No, absolutely. I think children need it. Like, they need those boundaries in place so they feel safe, I think. I definitely notice when there's less structure, like for example the last year with COVID, where there's been so much change. They're stopping school, they're starting school, they're doing online learning, suddenly they can't see their friends, they can't socialise, they can't go out and do their activities that they enjoyed doing after school. Suddenly things are so different, and I definitely felt at times it was the lack of structure that then was leading them to, I don't know, play up at home a little bit more. I felt more pressure. So I definitely felt like, particularly the last year, that structure has been so important for them, to make them feel, I don't know, like there's consistency. On Tuesday, this is what they're going to do. On Wednesday, so there just feels like there's a safety for them. I don't know if you find that, but definitely I feel like there's been challenges during this last year around structure that has highlighted the need for it, I think.
And you're right, actually, that they feel more secure when they have structure. Actually, in a lot of studies have shown that the disruption in structure can lead to anxiety in children, or the lack of structure sort of because they don't have those boundaries, and it's undefined. Somebody gave me an illustration of when you're driving on a road and you have a boundary, you feel safer even if the boundary is not strong enough to hold the car. But when it doesn't have a boundary, it sort of gives you more anxiety, and you can see the cliff. It's almost like there's nothing to hold you. But having a boundary tells you how far you can go, and it just makes you feel more calm. And that's a lot like how we deal with children and their emotions. And boundaries can be things like bedtime, eating times, TV time, and so on. And I think that, with COVID, it's harder to maintain those boundaries. How have you been managing to do that?
Yeah, a little bit like you, really, trying to put those bedtime, trying to keep their bedtime, trying to get them up early in the morning still, not letting, particularly having a teenager, like those having teenagers will know, like the desire to lie in now is there. Gone are the days of 6 a.m. starts. And but just trying to make sure she gets up, gets dressed, even though she's not going to school. And I know that's key for us, isn't it? Schools have just closed, those that have got children in school. Try and encourage, and that's what I'm doing, trying to, even this morning, like, school starts at 7:30, but she was still there 7:45, like trying to making sure that she's having breakfast, that she's dressing herself, just small things to keep that structure.
Listening to you talk about that sounds like a full-time job of a headmistress. But then I know you're also doing, I know you're also doing your master's, and I know you're working. I mean, you're basically running Tehillah. How are you juggling all those?
Yeah, it's not easy, and I am fortunate in that my husband also works for Tehillah, so we can share it out a bit. But I don't have so much help at home because the lady that helps, her children are now at home. So she needs to now be at home. So it's a bit of a juggle. But I think for me as well, having that structure, thinking, I find if I'm trying to work at the same time as looking after the children, at the same time as cooking, I feel stressed. So I try to, right, this hour, I'm just doing school. Don't try and answer the phone. And then I say to them, right, now mummy's going to work. So I do 1 hour checking my emails, doing something, or doing a Zoom meeting. And they know that that's now mummy's time for work. And then at 11 o'clock, right, now I'm going to come back and do. So I try and keep my own schedule. And I find that helps me rather than doing a million. I don't think us women are as good at multitasking as we think. But hey, I loved your analogy about the car. Because there's a similar analogy that I've picked up along my journey just around this, is around, I think children, I think we all are a bit like cars, that we need fueling up emotionally. And someone once said to me, I think I read it, or someone said to me about children are like a car, particularly, and if they're not fueled up emotionally, that's when they start misbehaving, when they're emotionally empty. So I think what me and my husband have tried to do over the years is just not wait till the children are misbehaving, but actually during the day try and fill them up emotionally with the positive, or just spending 5 minutes reading a book. Because I think sometimes they come to us, mummy, do this, mummy. And I think then we say, go away, I'll spend time with you in half an hour when I've finished. But then you'll find they'll go and then they'll misbehave or do something to get your attention. And what I found is allow them to interrupt. Just sometimes, okay, I'll read this book for 10 minutes. And then you find they go off happy. And actually they give you longer to do what you were wanting to do in the first place. So I found that keeping our children emotionally topped up is quite a good thing to do. But I think we forget sometimes as parents, we end up giving them attention when they're misbehaving, which is when they're empty. So I loved how your analogy of the car almost feeds into that as well. Just like our little people are like little cars running around. Some of them are really on empty. And that's when we see them sort of misbehaving and it's easy to just tell them off. But actually, if we be curious and ask them, why are they being like this? Is it that I've not given them any time today? Or I don't know what you feel, whether that's like for your kids.
For me, one of the things that I've done is just the whole structure thing. I really need structure as well. I think it gives me sanity. So, but in doing that, I've tried to communicate certain times to them. So they know, for example, there's certain things we do at bedtime, the whole story thing. Then Friday night is movie night, and they know
also
it's...
Also our house,
Oh, really?
We also have a movie night on Fridays.
And they know it, and they expect it, and they look forward to it. So if at another time they're asking for a movie, like, you know, today's Thursday, and say, sorry, you can't stay up late, today's not movie night, but tomorrow. And that sort of helps. And even just being able to sit and discuss with them, what movie do you want to watch on Friday when it's Wednesday, sort of helps them to get to that point. And I think when we talk about that, sometimes it's a little confusing, but I think the best way to think about it is how we often catch our children doing wrong things, and how that you immediately need to say something about it. But if all we've been doing is talking about all the negative things, and I see it like in my daughter, for example, she'll just say, I need to be fired from this house, I don't belong to this house.
Yeah.
If she's like had several
tellings off,
yes, if you keep telling her like what you did, you know, was wrong and whatnot, then she'll say, I need to be fired, or I don't belong to this house because I think I'm not doing the right thing, and so on. So then we emphasize all the wonderful things she's been doing, and we have to keep, and that's, you know, I see that more in my daughter than my son, by the way. That's probably something that's different about sons and daughters. Like, we have to reassure her a lot more, and compliment her drawings, her efforts and things like that, how she makes her bed, how she does this. And whereas for my son, he doesn't need it as much, but you can still see that he gets this good
when
feeling.
You do say something.
Yes, and he will even come, because he knows how good it feels, he will even come and tell you, Mommy, I did this. You can see how that motivates them. And
you can just feel crushed if it's constant picking up on negativity, and I think that's so key, is spotting what they do well. And why don't we do that enough as parents? It's like we just keep going, we ignore everything until something we don't like. But I think that's key. I've seen that in my own girls. Oh, I really liked you helping sweep the floor, even if it was just for 10 seconds. My daughter will go straight away and go and pick up the broom again, because she loves that rather than picking up. So I think that's so key, isn't it? And the other thing I think you said, which has helped us, is having things in the structure that they look forward to. For me, that is good, because it also helps when you do need to give a consequence, particularly as they're getting older, where they don't respond maybe to the timeout so much, or because they actually quite like being on their own. But things like having things in place, like rocks in the week, that you can then say, well, actually, because you've done ABC, or you've misused your phone use, or you've done something, then actually there won't be a movie night on Friday. And I think that having those things in place means that you've got some leverage, you can remove some. Whereas if you've got nothing in the week that they really look forward to, then it's really difficult to do positive, you know, because sometimes you can't always positively, there's sometimes consequences for actions, isn't there? But I definitely find, particularly with the older ones, that's helped is having those things in place that, well, actually, you can't have that this week, or you won't be able to have a sweets on Saturday. We do sweet morning on Saturday morning. So just having those things in place has really helped us to then dish out consequences when we need to. I don't know about you, but particularly as they're getting older, we're finding that's quite a helpful thing to have in place.
I absolutely agree with you. I think another thing I'm thinking about now as you are talking is just, you know, the frequent conversations you and I have had about our own parenting journeys and what is working for you and what is working for me. And I absolutely cannot underrate that. I think that part of my biggest influence in parenting has been learning from other people who I think are doing well, and that's great. I think that sometimes if we are not having conversations with people who are doing well, we're kind of are content about where we're at. And you're just like, I'm not abusing my children. I'm paying their school fees. And look, if they end up terrible, it's really out of my hands. They have their own personalities. But sitting with people like you who are actually looking at resources and seeing how you can raise your children to be better, responsible people has really helped me to think about my own parenting journey and know that I have to keep learning that. And it also holds me accountable.
Me too. I mean, I learn all the time. It's about being teachable, isn't it? And also I think it's about not carrying guilt. I think as mums particularly, I don't know, I'm not speaking for the dads out there, I'm not a man. But I think we carry guilt. There's constantly, as soon as we become mothers, we welcome to guilt land, isn't it? Like, I'm not doing enough. My child's not reading yet. My child's not sleeping through the night. That's a big thing in the UK. I don't know if it's big here. My child's not this, and comparison. So I think the first thing is just not to compare, because every child's unique. And actually, God's given that child to us. We're the best parent for that child. But I definitely think I've learned a lot. And I think one biggest thing I do with the smallest ones is, I can't remember the name of the book, but it's something like 1, 2, 3. But literally, it's literally like if the child's misbehaving, they're doing something, you say, that's a 1. And and they look at you and they're like, and you said, lower your voice. I think some women as well, we scream a bit, don't we? Yeah. But someone once told me, lower your voice, because actually it makes the children's, mummy's being quite serious. And then if they carry on, it's like, that is a 2, and look firmly. And I'll be honest to say, my 6-year-old's never got to 3. She's so scared of what happens at 3. Yeah, she's no idea what happens because it's not happened yet. But she's like, but also what someone told me is it makes them think. So rather than just saying stop that, they have no decision making. But actually by saying 1, they are allowed to, suddenly they're thinking, they're able to make the decision themselves. Should I go? Should I push this? But I'll be really honest, that's worked with all my 3. It's stopped working so much with the older ones now, like I said before. But the early years, I'll be honest, that definitely worked more than... And if it gets to 3, then you can choose, okay, it's no sweet Saturday, it's a time out.
I love that.
Whatever your method of discipline is. But definitely, rather than going straight to the smacking or going straight to the time out, the 1, 2, 3 has definitely helped me and helped the child, I think, learn to make the decision. Are they going to push this or are they going to decide to behave? And so I don't know, it's just a little tip that I've used that I don't know.
I absolutely love that. I have a countdown, but not the, I'm definitely taking up the 1, 2, 3 too, but I have a countdown, and it's for, you know how kids just seem to do things very slowly. Yeah. Like if I tell my daughter to make her bed, then she's not making her bed. Yeah. I told them to pack their toys, and somehow they stop and start watching TV or start playing with the toy they're supposed to be packing, or wear shoes, and then they start looking at a book. So then I'm just like 10.
That's good. Yeah, I love that.
And then when I start 9, then they quickly start. You can see them running. And sometimes I don't even go all the way to the countdown. Just because they know that I've started counting.
Yeah.
Then they start getting faster at whatever they're doing. Say, go brush your teeth. Go brush your teeth. Okay, 10. Then you see them rush. Okay, I'm going. Or if you're calling them and they're not coming in, you say 10. And then the moment they come, like, I came before 2, or I came before 5.
But what you're saying there, Maria, is brilliant, isn't it? Because it's like making parenting playful as well. Because I think sometimes we think discipline's always got to be quite serious. But actually, you're creating boundaries, you're being disciplined, but you're making it in a playful way, which I think is the child's language, isn't it? Yeah. So I think that's why they're responding to that, because mummy's started the counting. In your head, you're like, can you just do what you're told to do? But by turning it into a game, and I think as parents, where do we lose that sense of fun or seriousness? But I find sometimes if I'm more playful, like, guys, mummy's gonna lose it, like just a bit jokey. They're like, quick, let's tidy it, or sort this out quick before daddy gets home, and it's like, tidy up the house. And so I think playful parenting's really important as well. I definitely think, because our children really respond to that, like what evident in I feel like I need to do that more.
And I think part of it is, I think we get to a point where we only do what's essential, like for survival. Like play is like something that's not very necessary. So even when we're talking to other adults, you find that we compliment less because we expect them to know about life and what is expected. And then we only compliment them when they do a bonus. But I think we need to remember that with children, they don't yet know what to expect. So we need to compliment even if they're doing things which they're supposed to do, so that they can get to that place where they're comfortable. And the funny thing is, even for adults, if you compliment them for things that they're supposed to do, they're still really pretty pleased about it. Like, oh, thank you. But I don't know, I guess maybe it's from being busy and only trying to do the essential stuff that we end up like that. I did want to ask, though, about how do you deal with deeper conversations with your children? For example, if a child has lost a best friend. The friend is no longer playing with them, or they don't have any friends at school, they're new in school, they've lost a dog, and you need to have kind of those kinds of conversations. For me, the most emotional I see my kids if they've lost a favorite toy, and we need to get through that. Like, I'm just
it's just a toy.
But the tears and
really
the emotions, and you know, like I remember a number of times when my son couldn't go to sleep because he couldn't sleep with, he couldn't find his favorite toy, or my daughter was so distressed because the whole day she couldn't find her I think she had dropped it somewhere and she couldn't find it, and things like that. And it's easy to be dismissive and just say, you know, like, you find other friends, you get on with it. But I'm just wondering, how do you deal with it in such a way that you can still help the child to come to you with what looks like a childish problem, but still validate their feelings?
And this is so true, isn't it? Because we want our children to trust us. Because actually, if something's going on outside the home that's making them feel unsafe or uncomfortable, who do they go to? Really, I want my children to be able to come to me and speak to me. But I think for me, it's easy. I think sometimes as parents, we want to fix the problem, don't we? Like, I mean, we faced this recently. My eldest daughter, a lot of her friends have gone off to boarding school. So she's had to make a new friendship group. And then with COVID now, she's back at home. And it's been a tough time for her. But I think it's a lot around validating their feelings, like, and just like, oh, that must be really hard for you. Like, saying like, that must be really hard. I can see that you're really upset about that. And just rather than rushing in and like, oh, it's fine, you'll make new friends, don't worry, they're there. I think we miss that part of sometimes. And as Christians, I think it's okay to lament, isn't it? We're taught in the Bible, there's a period of lament. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. Try and encourage our children to name their emotions. Particularly my youngest has been a journey. Just, okay, what are you feeling? I'm angry. That's okay. It's okay to be angry. Okay, so what? And just listening to them. I think, do we do that enough? I don't know if I do. When we're rushing on to the next thing, we want to fix the problem. We want to, you know, get it all sorted. We want them to be happy. But do we allow them to feel those emotions and name them? I think sometimes when our children kick off, maybe it's because they don't know how to even deal with the emotions they're feeling inside. And okay, so you're feeling really angry right now. 3-year-old doing a tantrum or whatever. But I think it's encouraging our children to be okay with the emotions that they're feeling, that you're feeling anxious, and then walking with them. That's probably what I try and do. I've been doing that a bit with my 13-year-old. I don't always get it right. None of us do we? But I think it's okay to allow people to feel, you know. I don't know what you think. Because unless children can come to us with those emotions and learn to name them, then otherwise they're going to struggle alone, aren't they? And maybe they'll go elsewhere to get comfort if they can't come to us. I don't think we should panic if our children are going through hard times. It's normal, isn't it? But we want to fix it, I think, as parents, maybe a bit quick sometimes. I don't know whether you feel the same as me.
It's hard when we see children who have tantrums and you see the mother giving in to the sweet or whatever, because you can see that this is a child who is not learning to deal with uncomfortable emotions and to deal with not being able to have their way. And it can be difficult, especially if it happens in public. You have all these other people who also feel uncomfortable on your behalf, and they just want to intervene and say, why is she crying? Just give her the sweet. Just do this. Just like, no, like this is a moment for you, but this is a lifetime for me with my child.
I'm teaching a lesson here. It's definitely true. And but I think also by allowing our children to feel and go through a difficult time and walk them through it, I think it teaches them empathy as well for others, you know. And I was reading recently that, you know, with this all children online now with devices, you know, even you ask some children how many friends they've got, they'll refer to the 110 friends they've got on Facebook rather than the 6 friends at school. You know, they think that. So and some children, like, particularly during COVID, I mean, to some children, particularly in the UK and other countries, online is now everyone's online. It's like, so I think, and I read somewhere that the biggest gap that children have got now is empathy, because they don't really have to enter real relationships with people. They're not seeing people's pain on social media. They're seeing the best part of their friend's life. Do you see what I mean? They put the best images on there, the best photos. So children are not really learning. Children are not revealing to each other on these platforms the tough times they're going through. So children are not building an empathy. And I read somewhere that as parents, we've got to step up on that and make sure our children can learn to empathize with people. And how can they learn to empathize if we pretend they're not going through difficult times or don't allow them to feel? So I think it's really important that we allow our children and different cultures, you know. Do we even allow our children to speak to us in the house? You know, do we allow them to even express their views? I think that, I don't know what you feel, but I've lived in Zambia 10 years now, and a lot of people often talk to me in our training just around that in Zambia there is a culture, maybe things are changing, but the traditional is around children. And it's same, in England it was traditional, children are here, but they're not so much heard. And I guess it's thinking like, what are the potential consequences of not allowing our children to speak? Could there be something that therefore is a negative? In Tehillah, you know, we're sort of saying if children are unable to speak to people, or where do they go if they're being harmed, or if they're being defiled or abused, or they're going through a bullying at school, or even bullying online, where do they go if they can't speak to people around them? So how can we create an environment where, yes, children need to respect their elders, but how can they do it in a way that they at least can also speak? That's I think the challenge that we're facing. I don't know how you feel, Maria, about that.
I like that you brought up the empathy bit, and you're very right. And unfortunately, it's not just children, it's young adults too that are losing that empathy and social skills. I mean, I remember Simon Sinek saying, you know, when a young adult wants to break up with someone, they just ghost them. Like before, we would have to have conversations about how, you know, we can't see each, and that's very uncomfortable. Learn to communicate, but now people just, you know, ghost.
You raised a good point just around conflict as well. How do children deal with conflict these days? They don't have to.
No. And in order to help them to build empathy, there's some things we can do at home during COVID, like get them a pet or get them some plants. That sense of responsibility, of caring, of being able to see that if they don't do their part, this thing will die or this thing will respond this way, and something other than yourself needs attention is a good way to help the child still learn empathy even when they're not interacting with other children. So it can help them even to learn how to clean their surroundings if they have a pet which, you know, messes up and so on, and take some kind of responsibility. It can also divert some of the attention from you. To
keep them busy. No, it's true. I think that's key, isn't it? And getting children to look beyond themselves is critical. Where can they serve? Where can they help others? Just simple things, isn't it? Like giving, maybe going to, I know at my girls, there's an orphanage close to us that they sometimes want milk for the babies. So I sometimes encourage the kids, we've got a bit, when they collect a bit of money, we try and encourage them to save, the 3 S's, save a bit, share a bit, and spend a bit. So, but I think it's that, what are they going to do to share their time, their money, if they've got some, or just their love, where can they share? Even just ringing their grandparents in England for them it can take their time, like, Mummy, no, I just want to play. But actually, you need to speak to your grandparents, you know, like just to share your time and love with others. And it takes them out of themselves. Even as adults it does, doesn't it? When we're thinking about our problems, oh, woe is me. And then, to be able to share with others suddenly makes ourselves feel better, doesn't it? If we look beyond ourselves. So, it's good. It's good to talk about parenting.
It is. What would be your final tip or tips that you would like to give to our listeners as you think about parenting?
Wow, a big one I think for us is for parents, don't beat us up, don't feel bad about yourself, just try and not compare. That would be a good one. But I think that for children is, I think it's just trying to spend a bit of one-on-one time with each child every week. If we could just do that, it would fill their tanks up. I think it would strengthen the relationship with the child, and then therefore create a relationship where children are more likely to come to us when they're going through a difficult time, because our children will go through difficult times. So I think the stronger our relationship with them is, and I think it's an illusion that we have to spend hours and hours with them. Actually, I think just even challenge ourselves, 20 minutes focused time with them a week, where we read a few books, I think could make, whether you're a dad or a mum, I think could really help strengthen our relationships with our children. So that would be my few notes. How about you, Maria? What would your final?
Well, first of all, I've had a great time just listening to you.
Yeah, me too. And
listening to those perspectives, and I'm glad this is being recorded, because I'm definitely going to do the 1, 2, 3 and a few other things that you have mentioned. I would like to just say, sometimes we act like we've been parents before we were parenting these kids, and yet we're learning to be parents now. And anything that we are learning, we usually try and read up on it, ask other people about it, listen to some resources. So I would like to say that we need to invest more in our parenting journeys by doing those kinds of things.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Great. Well, thank you once again.
Thank you
for being
for
here.
Yeah, it's been great.
And I hope we can do this again
I really
sometime.
hope we can. That's great.
Thank you so much for joining us on our chat on parenting. Hannah and I are really glad that we could have this chat. I just want to encourage you to post any questions that you have so that we can tackle them, or it can be a future talk that we can have. Thank you for your time, and all the best parenting.